Hello everybody. Is everybody hearing me? No issues with my microphone this time? Hey Lectu, how are you doing? Always here. Always join us. Awesome. Nice to see you. Nope, cool. Thanks. You're a picture. Alright. Um awesome. I was checking the sound before we started, but I wasn't sure. Because I know like almost every time I have a bit of a wrong input device selected in OBS or something like that. Anyways, hello everybody. Welcome to our live stream for from February 2024. Um, and well, it's been a little over 2 months now since we had our last live stream. We did the previous one was in December 13th, I believe. So it was just before the holiday season and before New Year. Um, and we took a bit longer to do this live stream because usually it's more or less once per month. Um, it was mostly because of New Year. We were in holiday spirits, a lot of people taking vacation time and not being available. So we didn't have like a lot of updates necessarily to do. So let's start by saying Happy New Year, everybody. It's quite late, technically speaking. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to say it since 2024. So Happy New Year. And I hope everybody is well rested. Everybody had great vacation and holidays, and you all managed to get some rest. Um, on our side, we've had um, a lot of people that were on vacation, but we also got a lot of people who were out for being sick. Um, I think there's a spammer. Uh, thank you, Destiny, or whoever moderator did that. So yeah, we've had a few people that got sick. At one point, we were, I think, less than half of the team in our weekly meetings. Um, and I think everybody in the team at one point or another got sick. Um, Mostly like the flu. With the new year, I think a lot of people got that. So it hasn't been quite so much fun for anyone. Um, I got sick as well, and yeah, so things have been relatively slow, unfortunately, um, because of that. But also from my side, the new year meant a lot of tax-related stuff. Uh, Year-end processes for income tax slips for the employees or annual sales tax reports. And quarterly and monthly, everything just happens all at once. Um, Also accounting because we need to do our accounting for the 2023. December 31st is the end of the fiscal year for the company, so I was very busy with all of the accounting, bookkeeping, and taking care of income tax related stuff, but also hiring because just uh, before the new year, I think mid-December or something like that, we had announced new job positions that were open, and so we had, oh my God, we received, I think it was about 2 days, I think, and we got 500. I got 540 um, resumes, 440 job applicants, I believe, in 2 days for one of for one of the job positions. So it was a lot of work to go through all of those, review resumes, send out rejection letters, do interviews. This time we did the process a little bit differently, and we had two interviews with the candidates, then making the selection of who we wanted to hire. It was difficult to choose someone, but I think we got some really good candidates, um, which is why it was so difficult to make a choice. But yeah, we got some really good candidates, and in the end, we hired a few people. So I think this is going to be the first announcement for this live stream, because we hired not one, not two, not three, but four new people who joined the Forge in the last uh, month or so. More specifically, we had Corporat, or also known as Anthony, who you probably have heard of. And I think I mentioned him last time as well, but he wasn't hired yet back then, because we had been still discussing things. Because I met with Corporat in the PAX Unplugged event that we had in Philly, and that's when we started the ball rolling there. And yeah, he joined us towards the end of December, but we also had three other um, candidates from these job positions that we posted on LinkedIn and elsewhere. Sorry, and we hired them, and they started um, last week. So basically, one started 2 weeks ago, another one started last week, and another one started this week. So the last 3 weeks have been onboarding of new staff members. So that was fun. Give me a second, please. My throat is dry. So as I was saying, Corporate, a developer, part of the League of Foundry Developers. You probably heard of him if you've ever followed Foundry developments and the league. He did port to Foundry some OSC books, so he's well known for being the OSC person within the Foundry community. OSC is Old School Essentials, if you are not familiar with that. Um, and so he's joining the Forge as a strategy consultant, and he's going to help with the Forge's business operations. And yeah, very, very excited to have him on board. And he's been doing some amazing work so far already. So quite happy. Someone else who joined, Wormesis, known as Tim, and he's a web developer, and he is also a contributor to the OSC game system. So you've probably seen some of his work um, in one way or another if you've been using um, or playing OSC on Foundry. And then we had joining us last week was Rabi, known as Mr. Flowers, and he is an experienced um, web developer as well, um, and he's very good at doing UI work, and the front end is something that he's very familiar with, so he'll be helping us with a lot of the updates to the website and things like that. And finally, joining us this week is Cedric with his nickname Targaryen, and he is a DevOps engineer. He's joining us to handle a lot of the responsibility with regards to the DevOps um, tasks and taking care of um, servers, infrastructure, and things like that. So very, very excited by the team growing like this and getting to onboard all these amazing people within the team. So it's been a lot of fun. So everybody, please send your welcomes to these new team members. Um, Apart from that, we had last week Valentine's Day, right? So I don't know if any of you are celebrating Valentine's Day in one way or another. And if you have not seen, let me actually find that for you on our adventure log. We had a contest that we posted 2 weeks ago for a RPG love letter. So hopefully you all saw it, and you those who were interested in it participated. We've had a few entries to the RPG love letter contest, and the contest was pretty simple. If you love RPG, just write a love letter to anything that has to do with RPG, Foundry, The Forge, your D&D game, whatever. Just a love letter, something that's thematic with Valentine's Day and the community of tabletop RPG lovers. So we've had a few um, submissions and we reviewed them. There were some really good ones, and um, we are going to be announcing the winner today. So there you go. This is the one that we selected as our winner from Ashley May Writes, and it's a beautiful letter um, talking about her love for tabletop RPG and how she met her husband through their shared love of playing um, their tabletop RPG. I will post the link to it, and I will let everybody read it at their leisure. And it's really beautifully written. It's a beautiful text, and it's a beautiful story as well that really touched our hearts. And so we want to thank Ashley May Writes for posting her entry to the contest, and we'll be contacting her with the contest prize, which I believe was a $50 gift card, as well as Cupid's Valentine Vendetta, which is a um, adventure by Humperdinck Squares. So, sorry, as you can see, I'm still a little bit sick. So yeah, congratulations again, Ashley, and thank you for everybody who participated. And the next time, we'll do another contest like this. I hope we get even more people participating and sending us um, uh, whatever the subject of the contest will be next time. All right. Yeah, Yana is writing wonderful story. She was moved to tears. Okay, maybe not to tears, but I remember Yana reading that story and saying that she really loved it. Yeah, I also read it. It's beautiful. So, yeah, thank you. All right, congrats. All right, let's see. What else can we announce? So, if we go back to the blog, you'll see that other than the contest, we also had two submissions, not submission, but two posts for our Stars of the VTT Galaxy series of interviews, and so you get to read a really interesting interview with Cody Swendrowski, as well as another one with Anthony Ronda. And Anthony is Corporate, who has joined us as a new team member that I mentioned earlier. And Cody is also, just like Anthony, he is also part of the League of Foundry VTT developers, and he was also a employee of Foundry Gaming last year. So that's actually two really good friends of mine, and we had these two great interviews that I recommend to anyone to go into and read and to get to learn more about who they are and what they do and uh, what their inspirations are, etc. Um, so we interviewed them and we posted those two blog posts, Stars of the VTT Galaxy. If you are not already familiar with it, it's our monthly, bi-weekly. I don't remember the exact timeline of these. I think it's once per month or something like that, where we actually make a release of an interview with someone within our Foundry community. Um, and yeah, I believe if we look at Cody's interview, he had a lot of insight, interesting insight into the development of Foundry module developer community and development of his AI modules that are available on his Patreon. So I recommend you to go check that out. And with regards to Corporate, he also has a lot of experience with, uh, the Foundry VTT module development and tabletop industry in general. And he has, I've started subscribing to his newsletter. That's really interesting with regards to the tabletop industry. Um, and he's a fervent open source enthusiast. And yeah, you'll read the interview and you'll love it. You'll see. All right. Um, Apart from that, let's go back to the Forge website. Um, so in terms of development, so we can have a look really quickly at the update changelog. So you'll see in the last few uh, like couple of months, there were a few updates. You'll always get to see the changelog whenever we push an update, and you'll see a bit of what has changed. It was mostly small bug fixes, small polish, but there's quite a few of them. One thing you'll probably have noticed is if you open your page here, you get this. It goes fast, but you get this uh, like the loading of your worlds is not showing you these little loading spinner for each one of those cards, which was visually not very pleasing, but instead you get this skeleton view, as we call it, skeleton UI with the loading. So it's a little bit better in visually, and you also get to see a huge improvement to the bazaar. So if you go to the bazaar, you can see it loaded immediately, and then you get the actual packages loading while we verify the content. So the responsiveness of the page has increased dramatically. So you can very easily uh, notice that if, for example, I change and then I go back to the bazaar, it opens immediately. Whereas before it was always sort of very slow. Sometimes it would be fast, sometimes it would take, you know, upwards of 30 seconds before the page actually loads, which was not very good with regards to the user experience. So we've been working on that for a while on how to improve that loading of the page, and we have done this as a first step. We still have multiple other optimization levels that we are working on and that we'll be releasing in the coming months. There's also been, especially if you look at our changelog, there's been changes also for the creators themselves in the creator dashboard for when they release a package and being able to view um, their packages and things like that. There's a certain flickering that happened. There's small updates like that to just improve the overall polish of the bazaar, as well as other areas within the Forge. Another update that we did is if you create a shared compendium now, you'll notice that all of the compendiums are created inside of a folder. So I believe that was a feature that was added in V11. So if you are using V11, you'll be able to see that um, you don't get all of the compendiums thrown into the compendium lists in Foundry, but instead they'll be in their own separate folder, which makes it easier just in terms of organization if you're creating multiple compendiums or shared compendium or things like that. And so there's that. Minor bug fixes and things like that. But I think the biggest update was with regards to the bazaar, how it's able to open quite quickly, and then it does the loading of the packages asynchronously. And I think that's a good moment for you to take this chance and go and explore the bazaar a little bit more, see if there's anything in there that is interesting to you, and hopefully you'll be able to find something really good for you from the marketplace and help you out with your games. And uh, speaking of which, I will let um, Destiny go ahead with the Bazaar Showcase like we do usually. Um, there's, as usual, a $20 gift card that will be given away at the end of the Bazaar Showcase. And to enter the giveaway, you just need to type in the chat hashtag Feb giveaway. Let me actually post that in the chat so people can uh, can make sure they enter it without any typos or anything. Right, so giveaway, and where's the announce button? There you go. All right. And something else that is worth mentioning is that I do have a pretty exciting announcement to make, and I will do that at the end of the Bazaar Showcase as a way to wrap up kind of the live stream. So yeah, some exciting new stuff coming, and I'll announce that in a second. For now, let's switch to the Discord view so that you can see the Bazaar Showcase by Destiny. Ooh.
All right. Can you all hear me? I'm going to assume so. Can you hear me, boss?
So. Yes.
Good stuff.
We can.
So forgive me if my voice is a little croaky, like Kakaroto over here. I am also recovering from illness. So, as you might notice, getting right into it, we've got quite the musical track playing. With these Bazaar showcases, I always try to show how they can be used for creativity, and I'm sure you can think of how you can use this music already. It's uplifting, yet not happy, weirdly enough. It might be a good track to play in your adventures after your party has just had a team member die, or after you barely escaped but you didn't retrieve that one artifact or the NPC or something. There's all sorts of...
It feels very epic to me, and I feel like what I thought of it when I heard it is that I would play this when the players are approaching the big boss as a sort of, suspenseful preparation to a big fight. That's what it sparks in my mind.
Yeah.
Very epic.
So if you like this music and you're looking for other short but exciting, uplifting tracks, you will want to look for Emotional Lift by Micro Music. It's a music module available on the Bazaar, and it's great for those little dramatic moments in your campaign. And a nice feature is that several of them even loop. They have a looping version, so they will loop seamlessly into one another. So here we have a hero's ballad, which is a little more traditional fantasy. And it's pretty good. All these have some pretty good moments in them. They're pretty good for tying into your campaign, and I think they're a good fit anywhere. If you want to get this module on the Bazaar Marketplace, it's only $3.99, and I think it's more than worth it. I believe I actually used 2 of Micro Music's music albums during my campaign finale last week, which was pretty exciting. It was a nice way to cap things off, and my players seemed to love the music, so I don't think you can really go wrong with Micro Music.
No, you can't.
The next one we're going to be moving on to is Dark Street Rooftops. Sorry. Like I said, still recovering from illness. So, as you might see here, this is a pretty dark and ominous dark street at night with cobwebs and neon signs and a modern setting. We don't get a lot of modern maps being built for RPGs, and that's a bit of a shame, because I think we would I think that there's a lot of good systems to try out there. Shadowrun, Starfinder, especially with Starfinder 2nd Edition, and plenty of other like sci-fi campaigns where stuff like this would come in handy. And if you're looking for stuff to run on, then Dark Streets Rooftops, this package by 2D Storyteller, is a good choice. This one in particular has a couple of very neat variants. Let me go ahead and pull it up here. So in the Bazaar assets, so Dark Streets Rooftops, and you can see here there's a few maps with a few different versions. For instance, we get a very disturbing Eldritch Hellscape version with a lot of horrible like tentacles and magma at the very bottom. Looks like a space meteorite crashed to the ground, and you're about to get Cthulhu giving birth here or something. And then there's also just other variants as well, like uh, a rather more criminal, slightly more mundane looking version of the street map with a unpleasant looking red cloth here. Don't want to think about that too much. And best of all, it even comes with a nice journal handout, which is pretty rare, and it does match with the overall design of the place. So you can use this to show to your players beforehand and then transition into the actual scene. Which
That
I
is
think is
really nice.
I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah, we don't really see that very often. And I think it's a shame because that gives a sort of immersion that we don't normally get when you're able to see from like the top-down view, but also first-person view, as if you're what your character would be seeing there.
And I don't know about you, but sometimes my players have issues contextualizing the height of a map and what everything is actually supposed to be on the map. So something like this is pretty cool. Anyway, you can get this package for only $6.99 on the Bazaar Marketplace. It's pretty good, especially for sci-fi maps. There's not a lot of options out there, and 2D Storyteller does some pretty good realistic versions. So, finally, we're going to get to this. This is a package called Untethered Mountains by Mark Drummond J. You got a pretty interesting map here, an alien ecosystem with an ascending cliffside and some floating boulders. Well, this isn't just any ordinary package. This has the whole dang mountain in it. When he says untethered mountain, he means the literal entire mountain, and it comes with variants. There's blank variants, there's different biome variants, there's summits, there's foots, there's ascents, there's peaks. There's all sorts of different versions so that you can sketch a whole dang adventure. And best of all, since there's so many variants, you can do like whatever adventure you want. You want a frozen one? Have at it. You want a red one that's kind of desert-like or Mars-like? Have at it. You want a bleak one? Have at it as well. It's so rich in like options and choice. And it's kind of perfect if you want to design a kind of supernatural campaign where like the literal mountain is lifting away and you want to like give your players something to explore. Like, let's check out the summit at night here. Oop, wrong one. Boop. We'll go ahead and activate. Look at that. That's freaking awesome. Nice floating rocks. Best of all, with an image handout. So you can show your players what the mountain looks like beforehand and what they're cresting, which is pretty awesome. And you can even maybe come up with some ideas from this, like maybe to get from one section to another, they have to get across the air somehow, because it's clearly not all connected together easily, you know?
Yeah, that's really beautiful art.
Yeah, and it gets better too, because it comes with variants as well. You can get it without the beam. You can get it red if you're running the red version. And you can even get the frozen version if you want. It's all pretty neat. Now this package is a little more expensive. It's $14.99 on the Bazaar Marketplace, but with it you get all of these maps. It's not just one or two maps, and you get them in so many different variants. So honestly, you want to reuse this later, rotate the map by like 90 degrees, and then like have it I forget if Foundry VTT supports rotating it inside the app, but you can also just rotate it in an image editor, and then just throw in a variant for your players another time. And if you rotate it that direction, they'll never know that you rotated it, you know?
Yeah, I think you can rotate it if it's a tile, but I don't think as the background image. But yeah.
It's no big deal.
Mhm.
Anyway, it
That's awesome.
very good if you're looking for a map package that you want to make an adventure out of. So we're going to be showcasing one final package tonight. Before we go forward, thanks everyone for bearing with me and my sickly voice. And this one is a free module showcase, as we like to do. And it's called Narrator Tools by Elise U. Angelo on GitHub. This is a nice, simple system generic module that allows you to add what are basically semi-official looking titles to show to your players. For instance, Untethered Mountains. So I just type /narrate untethered mountains. Oh, did I not enable the module? Oh, my bad. Sorry, chat.
How could you?
I could have sworn I had enabled them all last night. /narrate untethered mountains. Just goes to show Peck back, right? Look at that. You get that nice official looking thing in chat. You get this cool title here that just shows up, and that shows up for all of your players. They will all see that. So if you're entering a new area, or you want to like forecast something really cool, or like maybe some powerful deity like being is speaking down to your players, you can use /narrate to do that to them. And it's just really good for setting the mood. Or maybe you want to set a riddle like what walks on 4 legs when in the morning, 2 legs in the day, and then 3 legs in the evening. The classical riddle, which is obviously man, and you can see, and they'll see that official box there, and they'll be able to remember it and quickly scroll up in chat while they're looking through stuff and be like, okay, there's the riddle again, guys. We needed to solve this to find the treasure the DM promised. It's pretty useful for that. And best of all, it works with journals. So let's go to a journal. Let's go ahead and highlight this that I prepared ahead of time and narrate it. Untethered Mountain. Just have to highlight it, right-click, and then choose between describe or narrate. It's pretty handy. It's a pretty simple module, but obviously it's a module that you can get a lot of use out of.
Yeah, I imagine, especially with the journals of like those text box, like D&D books usually have that, and I assume many other tabletop RPG books work in a similar way, where you have that speak aloud text box is what I was looking for. Sorry for that. Yeah, I would imagine immediately selecting that and just doing a describe to put it in the text, in the chat, I mean.
Yep.
Awesome.
And that'll be it for my Bazaar showcase. I hope, as usual, I've given you guys creative ideas that you can use towards your own campaigns. And hopefully you'll get some use at least out of narrator tools. Thank you for letting me showcase again, boss.
All right. Thank you for doing the showcase. All right. Switching back to my view. Hello again, everybody. I have opened here the links, and I also posted them in the chat. So Emotion Lift by Macro Music, really great audio that we just listened to. You have the Dark Streets Rooftop by 2D Storyteller, and you can see, oh, there's a trailer. There's multiple maps as you've seen, and the Untethered Mountains by Mark Drummond J, and finally the Narrator Tools by Eliseo Angelo, which you can see what those commands are. So yeah, really great stuff. All right, and now let's see. We had a giveaway. Let me see. if there's any late entrants, now would be the time, because I'm about to announce the winner in just a few seconds. All right, well, I'll put this here. Oops. And so, one late entry. There you go. Now, let's draw the entrant who won. Decron82. Is Decron82 in the chat? Yes, there you go. Well, in that case, congratulations. You have won the $20 gift card, which you can use for either purchasing content on the bazaar or even for your own Forge subscription. So congratulations. Destiny will send you the link to claim the gift card. I believe he does it via a Twitch message, so make sure that you're able to receive whispers in Twitch. All right, so congratulations again, and thanks everybody who participated. And now I did mention that we had an announcement to make after the showcase. So one thing I've been wanting to do for a long time, and it's if you've known me before I entered the whole Foundry and tabletop RPG and the Forge and the whole community, is that my background has been in open source software for the most part, and something I've always wanted to do is to release some of the content that we've developed as open source. We've done that a few years back when we released Viewport and DL Open, which were tools that we built for the Forge internally, and we released those as open source for the community as modules for them to use. And some of the modules did use those as libraries. We've also released the Forge Compendium browser, Compendium library, as a open source tool, open source module as well. And today, well, we're not going to release it today, but we're announcing today that there's another pretty big portion of the code that we've worked on for the last few years that we're going to be releasing open source to the community, so others who want to contribute to it can contribute to it, and those who just want to learn from it and see how some of the logic and some of the code works will be able to get access to that. And I am talking specifically about the D&D Beyond conversion and integration parts of the Forge. So that's a project that we've released as a beta project for a while. So you can see D&D Beyond integration here, still in beta. It's been in beta for a relatively long time. And unfortunately, I have not been quite as happy as I would have liked to be with regards to the progress on the project. It's been slow going, unfortunately. I'll admit it was also more complicated than I expected it to be initially, and it hasn't been necessarily the highest of all priorities for the development of things within the Forge. But it's something that I've been meaning to release to the world as an open source project. I think it's worth releasing it that way, and we're going to be doing that. Hopefully, it might not change anything with regards to the development of it, but hopefully, some people from the community can look at what it does and fix bugs from it or improve it or complete the work. I think the biggest challenge that we still had with regards to D&D Beyond integration was mostly with regards to ensuring that all of the content is absolutely accurate. I believe monsters and spell data are accurate for the most part, but it has not been thoroughly confirmed that there were no bugs when converting a monster to the Foundry equivalent. We still don't have vehicles supported, and one big lack is that with regards to equipment or items, only the description of the item is actually copied, and we don't set the attributes of those items. So I think uh, that's the biggest missing point, I believe. And then the accuracy is just something that's, at this point, I consider that we're done on that part. It's more about bugs that can be found and reported by users. So we're still going to continue to work on that and improve that. We already depend for the conversion on the amazing work done by Mr. Primate with regards to the DDB metadata project, which is already an open source project for collecting all metadata related to um, uh, D&D Beyond Adventures, and that contains walling information, light information, token positions, and things of the sort. And we've been trying to integrate with that in a different way to improve some of the processes. That's where a lot of the work has gone internally, um, and I'm quite happy with what we've done on that front. Um, but now, we want to release the whole thing as open source and make it available for everybody to look into how it works and how it can be improved. Um, so yeah, it's not going to remove it as being in beta because it doesn't fix everything, but it is still going to be beta, but it's going to be an open source tool. With regards to the integration within the Bazaar, um, I am also thinking of removing the requirements for the Patreon support in order to access the beta, and I think I'll just make it available for Storyteller um, and World Builder tiers, just automatically available for them without requiring that additional kind of Patreon support in order to get access to the tools. Um, Sorry, Chaos Bard, it's too late for the giveaway. Just so continuing the announcements, yeah, so you'll be able to see that coming soon. We're still working on basically all that is needed with regards to open source in it, which is to make sure that there is an actual README file in there that describes how to use it outside of the Forge if someone wants to use the tool. Um, I built it as a command line tool, so you would need to have some technical know-how to at least be able to install and execute the application. But it is something that would be usable within like outside of the Forge as a standalone tool. But that is not specifically described or documented in any kind of README file because the Forge uses it differently via an API instead. So we need to document that, make sure that it's comprehensive and comprehensible, like that it's easy to understand and use for the people who want to use it. And what else? We need to update our documentation, of course, and we need to change the way that the access to D&D Beyond content is checked. To remove the Patreon requirements and make it a storyteller tier requirements instead. So we'll be working on that. I think that's going to be a great relief for anyone who loves D&D and D&D Beyond and who wants to import their content. They'll be able to have more options to do just that. So I'm quite happy with that decision. And I think that goes also with regards to another announcement that is not ours, but it's Foundry's announcements of official support for D&D 5th edition. So I don't know if any of you have seen that. Actually, I'm sure that it's somewhere in their news. Where's news? Yeah, this. So if you have not seen the video, if you have not read the article, if you have not seen the update from Foundry, they have partnered with Wizards of the Coast in order to release official D&D content to Foundry VTT, which is really great. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any kind of relation with D&D Beyond. Does the content, purchasing this content, unlock it on D&D Beyond? No. If you already own the content on D&D Beyond, do you get it for free or discount? No. So they're not conflicting necessarily with what Foundry is doing, but I believe they are complementary. So if you already have the content on D&D Beyond, you'll be able to import it, and if not, you can buy the Foundry release directly, which is really great stuff. It's a great news, and I think that everyone has been excited about the announcements, and I wanted to also congratulate the Foundry Gaming team for working this out and getting this partnership with Wizards of the Coast. So congrats on that. And yeah, that was the big announcement. I was very excited about it. Another announcement in the similar vein, and it's not related to the Forge, it's more on a personal note. I will be doing the exact same thing with R20 Converter. So for those who are not aware, I have my Patreon, which also is for getting access to R20 Converter, which is a tool that I wrote, my God, 4.5 years ago or something like that, and that I've continued to update throughout the years, that allows you to convert your campaigns from Roll20 and making it available as Foundry Worlds. And it's been very popular, and ever since I released it, I believe, 4.5, nearly maybe 5 years ago, when I released it, I said that I wanted to release it open source, but for now it wasn't going to be. And I've always kept kind of delaying when I would open source it, and I think that this is the perfect time for it. As we're open sourcing the D&D Beyond conversion tools, I'll also be open sourcing the R20 converter tool, making it available for everybody. So I'll be working on doing that as well. So within the next few weeks, you'll be able to see that. And that's the end of the announcements. Actually, there is one little extra announcement. In about 10 days, I guess, at the end of next week, we'll be attending the Gamma Expo convention in Louisville, Kentucky. So I don't know if anyone is going to be there, but if you are, seek us out, and we'll be happy to meet up with you. And yeah, that's gonna be fun. We went to PAX Unplugged last time. Now it's gonna be Gamma Expo, and it's really fun to be able to meet people from the community or from the industry. So this is a lot of fun stuff. All right, that is the end of all the announcements. We'll switch now to our Q&A session. So if you have any questions for me, now is the time. So let me just catch up on the chat log real quick, because I do see that there were a couple of questions asked already. So DM Grisix says, question, when using the force synchronization to local content with the module that optimizes the files to WebP, can you add an option to keep modules off that synchronization? You have the Bailey Wiki stuff, for example, it takes forever. So that's interesting question. We don't optimize files to WebP when you do that local synchronization. What it does though is that if you have assets that are in your assets library, but they aren't locally available, then it will download them and write them. So with regards to Bailey Wiki stuff, if you have imported that content as a custom module where its content was uploaded to your assets library, then it will download it when you synchronize locally. But if you have installed the Bailey Wiki module locally, it will notice that the files are there and it won't download, it won't upload it. And so it should not affect you. It will just basically synchronize the assets library with your local data folder for Foundry. So yeah, I don't think there's a way at the moment to make it not like exclude folders. But one thing that we did add when we added the new assets library share folder system is that if you do share of a folder and use the API key of that shared folder itself, then it will be able to synchronize just that shared folder, which is because I know a lot of people have been asking, can we just download a single folder without synchronizing the whole thing? And that was kind of a partial answer to that, is to be able to just say, well, you can just do a a share folder of the folder you want to download and do the synchronization of just that folder, and that works fine. Yeah, let's see what else. Well, Mr. Prime and Chris stuff is already pretty handy for that. This is tall order to match what they do. Okay, so DM Grisix, what Mr. Primate does, not sure what Chris's stuff you're talking about, but what Mr. Primate does is similar. We did release, I don't remember if we released it first or he did, but it was at about the same time, and we did parallel development using different methodologies, more or less. But that's with regards to the Adventure Muncher. What Mr. Primate does that we do not do is the import of a single monster or character sheets, and he does an amazing job at that. It's really, really great, and I can't recommend it enough. What we do with regards to our um, integration with D&D Beyond, let me just show you really quickly, is if you want, for example, if I wanted to import Candlekeep Mysteries, so I get the list, I get this prompt, I say okay, and then I say import this as a world, and then it will just do it and then generate that world for me very, very quickly and very easily. And it's basically just a one-click import of the whole content. I don't know if we have perhaps an existing module probably that I can show, but you'll see kind of how, let's just stop. Modules, we do D&D Beyond. Yes, I have a few. Let's say, for example, Dungeon Master's Guide or Lost Mine of Phandelver, for example. It's a bit outdated. Well, Acquisitions Incorporated, for example. So if I was to enable these that have been converted as modules, then you'll see kind of how that conversion happens. Yeah, this is what I was just showing you. Import is complete, and that's all it needed to do, which was very, very easy and quick. So let's go back here. Compendium library, and here are the books. You can open the Dungeon Master's Guide. You can look at your actors. Oops, I went a little fast here. You can see the monsters. You can view them. You have the journals. In the same way, you can just view all of that content. Like you don't need to have it in your world. It can remain just as the compendium and just being able to access it through the compendium library. In the same way, you have these scenes here from. Let's try not to do any kind of spoilers, but you get the idea here. This is the image. This is how many walls there are, how many lights there are. You can just import it. Then you have the scene. It happens very quickly, as you can see. So it's really great in that way, and it's very simple. I don't know exactly how Mr. Primate's Adventure Muncher works. I believe it works a little differently, but they're complementary. Yeah. And yeah, that was just basically to answer the question, not the question, but the statement of it's a tall order to match. We already match a lot of that. I believe, like I said, the only thing missing is with regards to the inventory, the items that don't have their attributes set other than the description, but everything else with regards to the walls, the tokens, the actors, everything gets imported, and that's that works really great. But that's really for sourcebooks specifically. It's adventures. We don't do import of an individual monster or of character sheets, and Mr. Primates is unrivaled. And I've had the question of are we going to do the same thing? And I've always said there is no need, because Mr. Primate's DDB importer is really great, and so I don't see a need to do that. All right, let's see. Question Artificial. Is there any impact to D&D Beyond integration by the new 5e system and its official support by WotC? Will it give you guys a bunch more problems to solve that you foresee? I don't think there's going to be necessarily any kind of impact. I think the new D&D version. Whoops, I switched to the wrong scene. There you go. Q&A. Yeah, the new update to the D&D 5e system might cause some breakage. Not necessarily, but it might. But it would be in the same way as uh, other modules might break when the D&D 5e 3.x version was released. But I don't think so much because we mostly just set actor attributes, and so if the actor or like the sheet breaks when you upgrade the system, then it would also break for any other user who is just using their world and creating their actors menu. So it shouldn't really affect us in any sort of way. I don't think so anyway. Right. It's going to be even more important with the update 5e releasing in September. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. I don't know exactly how the 2024 PHB and that content is. I believe it's supposed to be backwards compatible, and I mean it's just like a new iteration, but it shouldn't change any kind of rules or anything to that effect. But I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to wait and see, basically. All right. Yeah, just happy. Thanks, Chaos Bard. Yeah, a little late, Ado. Sorry. Too bad WotC does not do unmarked maps. Lol. The S on the walls always give away secret doors as the maps are. Oh, actually, you do get. I just imported the DM version, but actually you can see scenes, so you can. Oh no, actually no. That's because that's an old import of Lost Mine of Phandelver. But yeah, it's actually where is it? Uh, it's LMOP2. You get it here. So it's 4 instead of 2. So you can still select it and just change it, and they disappear. But that's already fixed. Basically, the import should already use the right images, etc. We worked on making sure that we don't get those kinds of issues. So that's not really a problem. It's just an old import from I don't know how long ago, but that was like you can actually see that here in terms of um, Lost Mine version 0.2.0, and I think now we are saying it's 0.4.16. So that was an old import basically. But yeah, the actual maps, you have player maps and you have the GM maps. And something else that we have seen done by Mr. Primate's team with regards to DDB metadata is that some maps, even as the player version, they could have an S for secret door and things like that. And they have managed to basically Photoshop that out and provide that as very small tiles that just hide the S, and they're placed perfectly so that it looks exactly like if it was a player map, even for those that where D&D Beyond doesn't provide that full player map to the user. All right, let me see. Big agree, Bazu does the same thing, same infuriating. In that day and age, it is mind-boggling they have not yet caught up. Are there peak times where the Force servers are getting a lot of use? How do you mitigate those? Oh, that's a great question. There are definitely peak usage times, but we don't really have any kind of issues with those. We used to, especially when we were still on DigitalOcean, that wasn't working so well. Now I think it's been a year now that we have not had any kind of complaints from users about peak usage time. So things are slower or anything like that. We did release, I think that was maybe 3 months ago, an update to our own scheduler algorithm that improves some of that to basically implement a sort of round robin algorithm with regards to scheduling in a way that is more optimal so that there's even less of a load issue on servers. We now have dedicated servers that are very performant, and it's really, even if it's the peak usage, people don't see any kind of effect on their game launching or playing their games with that, because we do provide ample CPU and RAM availability for every single Foundry instance to be able to do what it needs to do in an optimal manner, and it doesn't get affected by that. But yeah, there's definitely peak times, but it's working well. I think our scaling and scaling algorithms are doing the job pretty well. Thanks for asking. All right. Any other questions? You're welcome, DM Grisix. I hope I'm pronouncing your nickname correctly. Did Grisix? Anyway, yeah. All right. Any further questions, or are we good? Re6. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any new questions. I'll still give it a few more seconds, but if there is nothing further, then we are ready to conclude. Yes, Z Grimshell. Gre6. 6. Is there a way to identify a slowdown? How would you identify a slowdown? The way that I do it personally is just being on a map and just having any kind of actor, and I'm able to basically just have a token and moving the token around without lighting. Basically, that's just a test that I do um, when I want to quickly check for something. And if you move your token, you'll be able to see immediately if there's any kind of lagginess. Be careful of your own CPU or RAM usage, because if your browser is slowed down, that will affect it, obviously, because some people are oh, it's lagging, but in the end it's hardware acceleration that's disabled, or they have a module that's doing like taking 100% CPU and slowing everything down. But otherwise, if you move a token, something that people aren't always aware of, but if I drop my token here, what will happen is that Foundry will send the request to the server, to the Forge, and the Forge will give that to Foundry, and it will say, okay, this is the new position of the token. And then Foundry will write that to its files, to the database, and then it will respond and let us know, here's the new position of the token. And this all happens, as you can see, it's nearly instant. So if I release, it moves. And it will be, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 milliseconds. I can't even notice it. To me, it's instant, but it's actually, there's multiple things that happen in the background just when I release my mouse. And so if there's any kind of issue with either my internet, my browser, or with the connection itself, or with the server or Foundry itself that is slow, or the Forge servers that are slow to communicate with Foundry, whatever is within that whole pipeline, you'll see that you move the token, and as soon as you release it, the token actually stays where it is, and then a second or two later, then it moves. You've maybe seen that in the past, and usually it's just because it took that amount of time to tell Foundry to do the update and for it to write it to the files and then to send the notification that yes, the token can now be moved. That's where you see lagging. That can happen if servers are really overloaded, but it hasn't really been any kind of issue in the recent year or so. there any way to identify a slowdown between server, Forge service, or Foundry itself? For Foundry itself, not so much. Like, if you see those kinds of issues, I don't think you have any kind of way of knowing if Foundry is slow or the Forge is slow, because it's all kind of one bundle with regards to the connection. But if you get that kind of behavior and it happens on a world that doesn't have like modules enabled, and it's not a hardware acceleration issue, and your CPU and RAM seem to be fine on your desktop, then let us know and we'll be able to do a more thorough investigation. But yeah, let's see. Large maps, for example. Thanks, keep out the Google. Thanks. Large maps, I think if you are having any kind of issue with regards to a large map being slow, or at least slower than a smaller map, that's entirely based on your browser. Because it doesn't make any difference for Foundry or the Forge if you're on a large map or a small map. All it knows is this token with ID 1234 now is at position 10, 12, for example, and so it moves that, and that's all that it gets. If you open a character sheet, there's no communication with the server, so this is all local. If you switch maps, it doesn't either. There's just the loading of the actual image, but anything else, it doesn't. The only thing that communicates with the server is when you make a change, like you change the position of the token, or you changed an attribute in your character sheet. But opening the character sheet, moving it around, switching scenes doesn't change anything. If you activate a scene, that changes the active scene, so that is a change that goes to the server. Otherwise, most things happen locally. Vision, if you have like token lighting, etc., that can slow down things quite a bit sometimes if you have a lot of walls, etc. But it's all happening in your browser. Has nothing to do with the server. That's a common misconception where people think that it's server related when they have some slowdowns, but usually, for the most part, it depends on the what's currently on the scene. Right, so let's see. Chaos Bard saying, oh, sometimes I play report that they've been stealth logged out, which is say their login times out while they're connected to the game. It's not immediately clear until they suddenly can't do certain things. Then they navigate back to the homepage and see that they've timed out. Anyway, there could be a timeout notice that can be displayed to a user if they're in a game. The short answer for that is no, because we don't actually have a timeout like that. If they get logged out, because I think that's what you're talking about, if they've been logged out, and I have seen that happen a few times, and it happened to me once, I don't know what might be causing it, because the way that we do the logouts is that you need to explicitly log out, or you have not logged in the last 14 days. So our actual logout timeout is 14 days. And even if you haven't logged in for 13 days, as soon as you access the game, or as soon as you open the Forge website, as soon as you do anything that communicates with the Forge website, it will refresh that session for a further 14 days. So technically, you should never get any kind of logged out in the middle of a game. But I have seen it happen, and I don't know what causes it. And I think it might be that the browser loses the information. It could be like local issue, because some people have reported getting it multiple times, while others have never seen it at all. So I'm wondering if it's like you're run low on space on your C drive, and so the browser starts to free up some resources and it logs you out because it forgets your session. Maybe not. I don't really know. I have not been able to reproduce it in any kind of meaningful way to debug that issue and find out the root cause. But from our side, server side, we just like, unless you literally click logout, we never delete that session until it has expired with a 14-day expiration from the last time you actually accessed any part of the site. Yeah. Yeah. Lower end laptops, perhaps it affects it. I mean, I have a higher end desktop. It happened to me, but it happened once, and I'm nearly always on the site. It happened once in over 4 years, you know. Um, but yeah, I don't know what could cause it. Um, let's see. DM Grisix says, good question. Sometimes they are still in the game. You have to kick them so they can log back in, but it seems more a Foundry issue than Forge. Oh, so that one where you have to kick them so they can log back in is a different issue from the one that I was just talking about, and that's usually if the user loses internet connection. Foundry doesn't recognize that the user um, has basically lost the connection, so it doesn't let it reconnect, and you can't select the user. I mean, if you have the game manager, if you enable the user manager of the Forge, which is a Forge feature, if you're not aware, then you don't even need to care about that, because even if Foundry thinks that you're still logged in, like if I open this, you see there is no game selection. I don't need to select my user. It just logged me straight in, and I can join game as, and I can switch users in that way. And even if I go to the join screen here, it will just log me in automatically and get me into the game. Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you. I do that nearly every single time. All right. So, um, yeah, let's go back. There you go. So usually if you open a game in Foundry, you will end up on the join page where you have to select your user. But you can see here, I clicked and I get sent straight to the game. I don't need to select my user. Um, well, this is weird and awkward. Why is it slow like this? Not supposed to be this slow. But yeah, you get the idea. And if I, like, you can try that in your local Foundry. Even if you're logged in, if you do /join, it will take you to the join page where you select the user. But when you do it on the Forge, it will automatically log you in and redirect you to the actual game. So you never have that issue of being unable to select your user, because the Forge just logs you in to the game automatically. So that's one thing, and that being unable to select the user um, from the list, that is indeed a Foundry issue that happens when the user lost connection. I think the only time I've seen it is when the actual internet connection is interrupted. Mostly users in rural areas have that problem sometimes when they lose temporary connection temporarily. That can happen. Yeah, some of your players have it worse than others. Yeah, I've answered that. How large is the team now after the new hirings? That's a great question, Lectu. And that's a question I try to answer every single week when we are in a weekly meeting. I don't have that much of good memory, so every time, like, who is missing? And then I have to count. So, as far as I'm aware, right now we are 15 people total, um, with one of them being um, not necessarily presence. Is it 14 or 15? Yeah, I think it's 14 actually. No, it is 15. Let me actually switch again. Show you this, and actually, yeah. So you have me, level 20. So by the way, if you're not aware of that, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but the actual level of each person is set in the way that I have level 20, and that is however many days it's been since I created the Forge. And then everyone's level is proportionate to how many days they've been a staff member compared to the total amount of time that the Forge existed. So basically 14 out of 20 would be, I need a calculator for that, like 70%. Why didn't I know this? Like, I should have been able to do that math. So Destiny Gray has been in the Forge as a staff member for 70% of the existence of the company. Basically, you can calculate it like that. So we are missing a new one here at the bottom, which is from Cedric, who joined just this week, and he hasn't given us a bio yet. He's probably going to work on that this week, and then we'll add him to the about page. But yeah, so you get to see the entire team, 15 people total. Derek is our other DevOps, who is, despite still being part of the team and available in the About page, he isn't currently working with us because he is on a sort of sabbatical for personal reasons, and we hope that he'll be back within the next few months. Yeah, so 15 people strong. Lectu, just what you imagined when you started the Forge, having a 15 strong team, right? Yes, that is exactly what I imagined. It's crazy. It's um, I mean, I've been using this term ever since I've read it in a book. I'm the accidental entrepreneur. I mean, this never was a company. This was never a business. This was always a project. That was me as a software developer, and I did a project. And the project required, servers, which cost money. So I had to request people to pay for it, and people started paying. Therefore, it became a business. And then I think like 9 months later, I incorporated it, and it became an actual company instead of just me declaring all the revenue as part of my personal income tax, And so then it became a company, and then it had employees, and then it had contractors, and then it became bigger. And then, like, initially I hired someone just to help me out because I could not do everything on my own. It was taking too much of my time, and I didn't want to be sidetracked by all the admin stuff that I couldn't develop anything anymore, because the Forge site needs to continue to grow and evolve. Um, and so I needed developers to do the things I wanted to do but didn't have time for. And so it grew. Then we needed, project manager, community manager, DevOps, and QA. There's like so many different things that are needed to get this project to continue to work the way that it is. And 15 people being in charge of a company that big. I mean, I know that it's still small business compared to other companies, but it's still pretty big and intimidating, to be honest. It's been a fun ride, that's for sure. Um, it's crazy. It's cool. It's a lot of responsibility too, though. I wouldn't uh, wish that on someone like me from like 5 years ago. It's not the kind of responsibility that I would have wanted to ever have, but it's where I am right now. And yeah, thanks, Lectu. Uh, League of Extraordinary TTRPG small business. Yeah, like Tolkien would say, the project grew in the telling. Yeah, yeah, it's it's really interesting also to just have so many ideas and uh, being able to have a team execute on those ideas, and and that's really really cool. I think that's my takeaway from it. It's being able to say, here's something that we want, being able to brainstorm that as a group, and then let them run wild and do their stuff, and then being able to see something like an output out of it, is really satisfying. It's really cool. Thank you, Artifician. I appreciate that. Yeah, we do our best. We do our best. But anyway, um, I think I think we're gonna end the live stream now. I don't know if there's any more impromptu questions, but otherwise we'll end it. Um, use mask in the yeah, that's a good point. I hear there's a new variant, and we've been sick already. We should avoid being sick again. But anyway, thanks for the suggestion, Lectu. Good one. All right then. Thank you everybody for being here, for watching the live stream, and thank you for your trust in the Forge and using our services. I'm glad to have been able to share this project with you and give you a service that you all seem to be enjoying. So that makes me very proud. So thanks for watching and for asking these really great questions and interacting with us. And we hope to see you again next month or so when we do the next live stream with hopefully some new really cool announcements. Um, if you want to follow us for regular updates, make sure to follow um, on Twitch, on X, on Reddit, Facebook, Instagram. Um, Join us on Discord if you're not there already. We have a bunch of links. I'm gonna post them, our social media links, which there you go. Thank you, Destiny. So yeah, make sure to follow us on social media, and as they say on YouTube in every single video, please like and subscribe. All right. Um, ooh, we have a blue sky now, apparently, too. Thank you, Yana. All right. Thanks, everybody, and see you next time. Cheers.